It's called the cover plate. When I first started with Festool about 15 years ago, in the catalog, it said the false joint plate. And I started to laugh. So when I was in Germany, I asked what a false joint was. And it was pretty cool. I had seen it. It's an architectural effect. And I had never known what a false joint was. And then I did a little in-depth study on it. And do you know Festool was, or Festo in the time, made the first false joint saw in the world. Didn't know that, did you, Chris?
Nope, did not.
Okay, so, and we had a saw for it, but this is a piece that goes onto the track saw. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a little demo first, because over the years we've had, and it helps with dust extraction, okay? And then I'll describe what a false joint is. So the TS55 FEQ, right? Okay, that's our newest generation of track saws. The one that was prior to this is where we updated these pieces. And the really important thing about this is your outside splinter guard, but you're gonna notice this and this. And what that does is if you have one of the older track saws, you have dust flying out forward of it. This helps block it, and it ups the dust extraction about 4%. So I'm gonna put this in here like this, and we'll make a cut with this. And when you set it up, I'm gonna set up the rail like I always do. I just use my limit stop to give me about a 6mm bump out, just like that. Cool. I'll set it up like that. Chris, you gotta be careful because I'm gonna get you in the way here with my hose and my cord, but let me plug in so you guys can all see this. I gotta plug it cord. And I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna lock my dust extraction in. Okay, so when you take that, whether it's the outside splinter guard or this little window like that, see how that goes down? And Chris, can you get right in here? See how that's gonna block some of that forward dust? Does that look good, Big D, on camera? Okay, good. So I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna make a cut. And I want Chris to follow me down so you can see some of the dust that's kicking. Now that cover, that window, does a really good job, but you do have some dust kicking. And I don't know if this is showing up on camera, but we have a little chafe. Now, what if you really needed to bump it up the ante? Say you're cutting in a hospital or whatever. I'm just gonna swing this out and set it down. So I'm gonna set up for my next cut, but I'm gonna use this. It's the cover plate. And this gets a lot of the dust. Now, here's a little bit of the myth I've seen over the years, okay? Is I've seen people do this. They take tape, you know, blue tape, and put it over this window. Air needs to get in there, everybody, to get good dust extraction, okay? I know that's where you change your blade and everything, but they cover it up. But where you really need to cover up is this is where that extra dust is kicking out. See how it comes back at an angle and down? All right, so let me do this. Let me unhook this so we'll play it safe, because I'm gonna mess with the saw a little to show you the setup of this. Okay. Hey, Sparky, how are you? Okay, now, a lot of people over the years have asked what this little recess is in the plate. It's for these screws that come with the cover plate. And people have asked over time, what are these notches in here? You're gonna see it's for the cover plate. I'm gonna slide this in, and when you set it up, you get two of these little clamps with it. Okay, and there's a little spring in there. So when you tighten it down, look what it does. It covers, but it also covers a little bit further down. Now here is where I want to mention, I am covering that window completely. I'll tighten this one here, and look, I'll push it out just ever so slightly so I still get some air in there. And that will help me maximize my what? My dust extraction. The only thing I'm going to check as I pull this back out is that my window is completely down again. So I block all the dust. I'll go like this, and that's what the cover plate is for. It ups the ante for your dust extraction. How much? I don't know. I've never seen a statistic on it. And let me lock this in. And then I'll show you another application for it. So I'm gonna come back here. I'm sorry, Sparky. Okay, and let's make the cut. Now I can see this, that the dust extraction, there is no dust whatsoever as I'm cutting with it. I have that window pushed down. I'm blocking the dust now. And it's being channeled up. So there you go. I covered this with the Conturo. This is the scraper. It's a carbide scraper. It comes with this wonderful, wonderful necklace. All right. And of course you have the radiuses here. You have a 2 millimeter, 1 millimeter, and I think that's 1.5 right in there if I take off the necklace, I call it, or the cord. But this is solid carbide. Doesn't need sharpening. Okay, it is at a perfect 90 degrees. So when I take this, and I've had people comment, this is how you should use a scraper. No, I would mar this. So the way I do it is I've run my Conturo, I use my MFK to trim this. But Chris, come in here so you can see this, and look what this does. I can trim it right down just like this and get a perfect bead and clean it up absolutely perfectly as I come down, okay? So that is what that's for. I can come back, I got more over here. I got a little here so you can see the cleanup. Okay, but this helps clean the residual glue off, and this is why we have it. See that? See how it comes right off? And just a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of fleece on there, and I can clean it right up, okay? So this is what this is actually for. But when I heard it was a scraper, I wanted to try it because I do a lot of handwork at home. And I grabbed some cherry when I first got this, and I brought it in, and I went, I wonder if this works, because here's a card scraper I brought from home. I've always worked with one of these, and it has a little burr on it, right? But when I'm scraping, see, it creates a little bit of fluff, so I can clean it right up before I hit it with my sander. So I grabbed one of these, and check this out, everybody. Look how nice this works. It's the same thing, man. I could scrape this really clean. So there you go. So this makes a great scraper. What else do you use a scraper for? Right here. A lot of people would automatically hit this with what? With sandpaper in between coats, but this acts as a perfect denibber. And what's a denibber? A nib, well, you should know what a nib is. When you're spraying lacquer, poly, whatever, in between goats, it's a little rough because you have dust that comes down and gives you those little bumps. Or maybe a little fly comes in there or whatever. This helps you denib. Okay, absolutely perfect. And you can actually take this and put it at a, see look, I'm actually seeing that come up and grab some. See that? And you can scrape your finish like this, absolutely perfect, instead of sanding. So there you go. That's the scraper. This right here is called the centering mandrel. This is an 8 millimeter diameter, and this is quarter. So you can use it in a 1/4 inch collet or an 8 millimeter collet. And you're gonna see how it's conical here. And what this is for, it's for in our lineup, we have template guides, but the OF 1010 REQF, the newer one or the older one, doesn't have a self-centering template guide system. We have the threads in the MFK that uses this type of template guide right here. Okay, you can screw that right in. It's perfectly centered on the MFK. We have the clip-in, and we also have the drop-in on the OF 2200 and the OF 1400, so those are self-centering. What a centering cone does, or centering mandrel, it allows you to center the template guide to the router. So I left the whiteboard here so you can understand this. Say I'm doing a template, I've mounted my template here, and I need a perfect offset. Okay, and I can set it all up and everything, but here's the problem that lies. Now we're looking at the bottom of the router with the template guide in here. So there's my template guide, right? And that should be exactly in the center. That's the router bit right there. The distance from here to here to here to here has to be absolutely perfect for this scenario to work. But what happens is, just because the way routers are made, okay, in bases, is sometimes, and this is an exaggeration, I'm going to take that, and that's my router bit, because the screws need to be moved on other systems that are out there. We have a way of centering. So what happens is, you see this offset is different from this. So when I take that to a template, right, and I'm running that template guide with that router bit, you can, if I start here, when you run the router here, and it changes continually around there, so you don't get a perfect pattern cut, because this would be offset. So the centering mandrel allows you to gain that perfection very easily. So I'm going to do the whole setup here. I'm going to take off, see this little piece right here, this black piece, I'm going to take it off. All right, real simple. Make sure I have it all set. Good. Now we also, with the OF 1010, we include this. Okay, but you still have to use the centering mandrel if you use, this is a template guide adapter for this style of template guides, okay, where you get these everywhere, and they're popular here in the States, in North America, where we call it a two-piece template guide system. Okay, you still have to center that, but we include the template guide. What I like to use is our template guides, because they're metric, and the math using a metric template guide is so much easier. So I'm going to put that on, and we got 2 screws that come with it. When you use this or do this, make sure you use a Festool drill. Just kidding. Okay, and I'm going to start these screws really easy like this, and you're going to notice the head on these and the recess is different, so I can use the centering mandrel with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my centering mandrel first. I'm going to lock it down, okay, just like this. Okay. I'm going to bring it like this, okay, and get my screws back in there. What was up? Anything? Are we all good?
Yeah, Derek's got the overhead. I just
wanted
to give you some room.
So I'm going to put that. This is how I set it up. I get it down close to the collet and get these in close. Sometimes I'm faster with my fingers. Now I'm going to make sure, because I got an 8mm collet, I have that in there like this, okay? And you're going to see how that takes out the slot. But I got a little bit of a trick here. I'm going to get these close. Oopsie. Make sure it's in forward. Okay, and I always go on 1 on this. Okay, so see how I have that movement? I want to make sure I am right down there. Oopsie, pulled it right out. Oh boy, I'm always good like that, aren't I? Okay. Okay, so you see how I've knocked out the slot now? I have that in there, and I just hold it firm, and that makes sure I am centered. The other thing I do is I have it on a low torque setting. That way there, I don't strip out the screws. And there I go, and guess what? Now the only thing I have to do is put my router bit in there, which I had around here somewhere. Oh, right here. I could chuck that up, and that will be perfectly in the center. So now I can run this. Now, if I would have used this in one point, I could do that and walk around, but that's inefficient. I want to just go like this, and that way there. That distance from the bit is the same in any of the axes. So say you have a CT36 AutoClean or a CT48 AutoClean. Okay, it has this feature in here. I've demoed it before. Okay, and what it is if I go like this, wow, okay, that bumps it. And what that is, let me show you what's happening with this. Okay, inside above the filter, you'll see this if you have one of these. It has a steel plate here, okay? And on that steel plate, we put a spring right here, just like this. And there's another piece that goes on top. So a lot of people think on the AutoClean, we're hitting it with something. We're not. We're giving it a burst of air, okay? Because up top, what you're hearing is high pressure. The low pressure is what's happening. It's called the vac, okay, or the vacuum, which is happening down here in the tub, okay? So every 10 seconds, you'll see this little port here, we send a signal, and that pulls this up like this. So that sends a burst of high pressure air that you actually hear. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on again. Okay, now if I put it in auto like this, nothing's happening. And the reasoning is because when I plug my Planex in, or any of our sanders in, for the AutoClean, it will pop every 10 seconds. But I'm going to put it back in manual so we can actually hear this. And I'm going to grab this hose. Whoa, that felt good. Okay. Now as I do this, okay, can you hear that? Okay, that is not hurting the dust extractor. Okay, and if I held it like this, watch, I'm going to go like this. Okay, if you notice, it's a more powerful burst of air if I restrict it. Okay, but there's a difference between what's happening with the blast gate and this. The blast gate, okay, if I take this now, watch. I have all this extra air in the hose. If I turn it like this, you'll really hear it ramp up, and it gives you one heck of a burst of air across the filter to clean it. So, when I always talk about AutoClean, I will always say this. AutoClean doesn't mean never clean. I would say if you are using this in several rooms, I would say every 2 to 3 hours you have to take that filter out to clean it, because there's buildup. Say there's big specks in there. They get up into the pleat of the filter, and the AutoClean can only do so much. But if you have a blast gate and you cycle the blast gate every 15 to 20 minutes, it'll save you from cleaning the filter a lot less frequently. You still have to clean the filter, but that extra burst of air really makes a difference. So everybody that I show a Planex or a Planex Easy to, they must have a CT36AC because it comes with this hose that hooks right to the Planex. But I will always suggest they buy the blast gate. I have a face frame on here, and by the way, it's the exact same face frame, okay? And this is your side. I have narrower sides for this, okay? But you see this face frame right here? I'm gonna swing it around so you can see it. See this right here? There's an offset. We call that a scribing ear. Or it's also good to do this so when you're banging a bunch of cabinets or putting a bunch of cabinets together, the face frame only has to what? Register against this 20mm piece, not this. If you did it flush, it would have to register the whole way. That's not good. The only time you really flush it, if it's at the end of the run of base cabinets and you just want to make it flush on this side, you don't have to pin it into a wall. It's kind of like sometimes I would build a galley kitchen and it would just end up being flush, and then I would either finish it with an end panel or some applied molding. All right, so that is why I want to show you how to do that scribing ear, and it's basically 4mm, and you're going to see how to do that. So I have a face frame over here, and I did this side earlier just so it would be easy. I'm going to do this side now. This is the top, because you see this is the drawer boxes right here. Will go in here. And I built this at a 768mm increment. Now, this was my starting point here, and I started here. I always try to start at the top and work this way, and that's the way I'm going to work. So, I have set up my domino, and just a quick refresher so you understand this. This is the plate and this is the base, but I'm going to be plunging vertical, so anytime I'm plunging vertical, which I'm going to label it, I'm going to plunge vertical on this one. Okay, I'm going to grab my side here, and I'm going to label this. My plate is going to register. I'm going to plunge horizontal on this piece. Okay. In other episodes, I have shown how to use the domino and how to register to the plate and how to mark my boards. Today, as I mark the boards, it'll be where I'm going to position the domino, but where I'm going to be laying the plate, so you don't get confused. Follow me on this one. I am going to be plunging 15 and 15 into these boards. That's my plunge depth. If this is 20mm, and there may be undulations or variances in this board, so I want to plunge at 15, so I chose a 5 by 30. I don't want to have to offset it and plunge 15 in here and use a 6 by 4. Say I was using a 6 by 40, plunge 15 in here and 25 in the other. I get confused with that. I'm just going to plunge 15 and 15. So that's my plunge depth is 15. A 5 is plenty of glue line. 15 and 15 into each piece. Okay, so I put in a 5mm bit. Now there's what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and Chris, come over here so we can do this. This is really simple. When I do the face frame on a cabinet, because I'm going to be assembling the whole shebang and then putting my face frame on top, and if we come over here, Chris, so you can see it, I do all of the face frame in the tight setting. And I'm going to label that tight. I do this so I don't forget as I'm going through this. Now, when I do the carcass or the sides, I'm going to do those in the loose setting. And you're going to see right here, I have it set up to do loose. I'm going to do this piece first, and then I'll show you how to do this and use this as my offset. This is the thickness, the depth setting for the height of the fence for the Domino. And when you look in here, you see what that says 20? This is 20mm or roughly 18, roughly 20mm. It's 18mm ply, but who cares about that because you'll see the offset. I have 20 in the window. Always remember that's the thickness of your material. Okay, good. So I'm going to write on here 20. It's that simple. Now I'm going to do my board. So from the top and from the bottom, I'm not going to mark it. I am going to use these flaps right here. See? I'll register the flap and the flap. I'm going to make 3 marks here. And because one of them is tight and the other one is loose, I'm not really worried about it. I want to put one kind of in the center. Look, see how it's flush. I'll put one right there. I'll put one right about there. And I'll put one right about there. That's simple, but that's where I know I lay my plate, and I lay my plate here. But I'm also going to use it as reference. Now I'm going to do one more on here. I'm going to take a saddle square, and I'm just going to extend this line at the very top. I'm going to bring it across like this, just so we have it. You'll see why I'm going to reference that. I'm going to bring it right across here, reference it. You have plenty of play, so my layout doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to bring it like that. It's a quick reference. You'll understand why momentarily. So let's do this one first. Remember, it's always the same techniques when using a Domino. Make sure you work off the table. Okay, I'm just going to take these new lever clamps. Oh my God, these things are wonderful. As I can swing it around just like this. Look how nice these are. These hold right down. Okay, they're beautiful. They're like hold fast. I'm going to put it in loose. Look, I'm going to plunge horizontal, and I'm going to plunge at 15. I have my height set at 20, but I always verify it and bring it down. It's that simple. And say you've got a boatload of these to do, a bunch of frames and sides. Think about it. If you label it properly, you can go through it very quickly. You won't waste material by labeling. I always say an ounce of layout is worth a pound. Okay, is that a saying? Did that sound right? Okay. Ooh, listen to Sparky. Sparky, who is that? That was cool. We never hear Sparky growl. Wow, that's a foist. Hey Mo, what's going on outside? Okay, so you're gonna notice I always do the same thing. I make sure I work off the table. I plunge in line from the back of the machine. I plunge at a steady rate. Okay? So I'm gonna do that one first. You're gonna see how it's loose. I'm gonna do this one next. And then these don't really matter. I'm just going to line it up with the cursor. I don't look at it like this. I'm going to look at it through here like this and just bring it right in. Man, do you ever realize it's a great day when you get to use a Domino joiner? It really is. Okay, so while it's running, because I'm going to do the face frame next, I'm going to turn it to the tight setting. And now comes the part where, when I was setting this, I don't want to be confusing, but I want to make sure you understand why it's going to be a 4 millimeter offset. If I take this and I loosen the height here, okay? See, come in, make sure we get this. Make sure that's good on the screen, Garrett. See the 20? I'm going to bring it to 28. Remember, that's the thickness. So guess what that is? That's actually, divide that 8 by 2, and that gives me the 4 millimeter push I need. I hope you understand that. Okay, so I'm going to take my side. I'm going to set it down here. Okay, and then I'm going to take my lever clamp. Wow, that's cool, man. That sets in there pretty daggone good. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that the frame is still supported on the table, but it's not going to interfere when I'm plunging vertically against there. I've seen that happen before. All right, I'm going to take it like this, and once again, it's in tight. I love teaching you this, everybody. When you're plunging, Greg Polini taught me this. I used to go like this to turn it on, and it would plunge at the same time, and it would go kind of wacky on me. He taught me this. Take your domino and plunge and pinch it on. See where I'm holding it? That makes sure that that plate registers properly against that face. So I'm plunging at an exact 90. And this is why I extended the lines here. Come in here, cameraman. Right back here. You see that? Even on the support bracket, that's my lineup. So I can come and capture that right in there. See how easy that is? That is the reason I extended the line with a saddle square. When you get good at this, you can do it on one leg. Garrett showed me how to do that. Okay, so let's get some dominoes in there. Ooh, look, I just happen to have some right here. All right. Oh my God, that's too tight. Daggone it, you know what I'm gonna do? And this is something I want to teach you. I probably said this before. Never drop your domino on camera. I'm just kidding. If it's too tight, don't sand this. This is the face. If you look, there's a rib. And what I like to do, if they're too tight, I won't lose glue line here. I just sand that rib like this. Okay, and you'll see where that goes in a lot easier. See that? Just like that. Perfect. I need a couple more. You know what? I'll grab this one so Chris doesn't have to clean up.
Thank you.
You're welcome, doctor. And I'm going to get that like that. Man, I got pickles for my birthday. That's awesome. I know what I'm having for dinner. What, man?
Pickles and beer.
No, I don't drink beer.
No.
During the day or during Festool Live. Okay. What are you talking about, Chris? Okay, so here is how everything lines up. Chris, come over here so you can see this. See that? Now I have that 4 millimeter scribing here. It's easy, and that is how you put the sides to a face frame. Whew. Good?
Great.
Okay, good. Hey, future episodes, maybe I'll show you, maybe in 2 or 3 episodes, I'll show you how to put the bottom to the sides and the bottom to the face frame. Yeah, maybe we can do that for another episode. Okay, everybody.